What is going on, everybody? Welcome back here today to another video on the Kristaps Porzingis trade, and it is going to be my final thoughts around the trade. So I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have seen my initial reaction on the trade. I did upload that a few moments after the trade. You can go watch it on my channel. So that was my initial reaction. So a lot of emotions were flying high. I really didn't get to sit down and really think about the trade, and it's been like 4 or 5 days since the trade happened. And I have a completely different view on it, and I actually kind of sort of like. So I'm going to be talking about the Knicks side of it and what I like about it as a Knicks fan, and the Knicks side of it, and also talk about the Mavericks side of it and what I like and don't like about their side, and what I don't like about our side as well. So I'm going to start off with the Knicks side of it now. Now, Kristaps, what I've been seeing is there was a report that he wanted out, and what he could have done in the offseason, and what Steve Mills and Scott Perry verbally said he expected them to, or they expected Kristaps to do, was to go into free agency, tell teams, give me a 2-year deal with a player option, and he's going to sign it. And then the Knicks would be forced to match it, obviously. But if it has a player option on the second year, once you sign or once you take a deal as a restricted free agent, so say Kristaps, the Brooklyn Nets gave him a 2-year, $50 million deal with the player option on the second year, and the Knicks were like, alright, let's match it. Since they matched his deal, he has a no-trade clause his first year, which means they can't trade him. Unless he obviously, I don't know if it's a no-trade clause or they just physically can't trade him. I think it's like a no-trade clause type thing. But he was going to do that, and then the player option, he was just going to, which the Knicks couldn't trade him for 1 year, and then after that year, he was just going to opt out in the offseason, and the Knicks would have got nothing for him. They would have got nothing for him. So that makes me like the trade a lot more, hearing that. The Knicks also have 7 first-round picks over the next 5 years, which is something they've really never had before. I know people saying they like to make jokes that the Knicks have been rebuilding since Ewing. They've been rebuilding for the last, physically the last 6 years. But this is the best position they have been in like, the last 10 years. Financially, talent-wise, draft pick asset-wise. It's the best position they have been in a while. Now, I know people love to hate on Frank Ntilikina, and Kevin Knox isn't really having the best rookie year, but you kind of have to watch the Knicks games to kind of see what they've been doing. Now, Frank has been really bad on offense this year. There's no way around it. I'm not going to sugarcoat his offense. His shooting has been really inconsistent, and the dude sucks at getting to the rim. He's very slow. He doesn't like to absorb contact, and he just isn't aggressive enough. But on defense, he's a completely different player. He is an elite defender. Now, I'm not going to say he's Marcus Smart, Andre Roberson, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard good right now, but the dude, honestly, is a top 30 perimeter defender already, and the dude is 20 years old. Now, I'm not going to say that makes him a good player, because being a basketball player, being an NBA player is 2 sides of the ball. You have to be good at offense and good at defense, or you're not going to be as good as people say you are. Now, his offense sucks, so he's got to get around that. But if the dude just develops a 3-point shot, and he just can't get to the rim, but he can develop a 3-point shot, I mean, look at Marcus Smart. His 3-point shot has gotten a lot better this year, and he was the 4th overall pick, and it wasn't good. His offense really wasn't good until this year, while he's shooting the ball. So you got to give him time. He's only 20, so the potential is still there. I hate people kind of writing him off already, but maybe just me being a Knicks fan that's being defensive. But I know he sucks on offense, but his defense tells a whole different story, and I'm really excited to see him and DSJ kind of be a backcourt combo together. And the Knicks, the other 3 or the other 4 young players the Knicks have, or I guess 5. I mean, Dotson, Trier, 2 pretty good wing players. I mean, they're not going to be all-stars probably one day. Maybe Trier could if he was in the right position, but they're going to be good role players. Kevin Knox, obviously, he's not really shooting the best percentage, but at least he can score at will, and he can score when he wants to. He's a little bit selfish, and he really sucks with moving up the ball. Watch a Knicks game, and watch him when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. It's like he's just waiting for a bust. He just sits in the corner. He doesn't go off screens. He sucks at moving off the ball. He's got to work on that. And Mitchell Robinson. The Knicks have a good 6 young guys, which is pretty good. Best, I guess, potential assets they've had in a while. And then the $70 million cap space that they're going to have in the offseason for possibly 2 max deals. The Knicks are the only team that can call up Kevin Durant and be like, Kevin Durant, or Kevin, come to the Knicks and bring whoever else you want here that we can give a max deal to, and we can do it. Say, I really want to play with Kyrie Irving. Boom. Knicks sign KD, Kyrie. Obviously, it's easier said than done, but even if they just get Kyrie, or even if they just get Kevin Durant, I'll be content with that. Okay, but say they strike out on 0 of them, right? I'm okay with them signing 1-year deals. Say they land RJ Barrett, Cameron Reddish, Zion, John Morant in the draft, because they're gonna have a top 5 pick. And say they land one of those guys, honestly, just see what they can do next year. Just have Dotson, Trier, DSJ, Frank, Knox, Mitchell Robinson. We'll just say Zion. Maybe they just bring back, like, Lance Thomas and Luke Cornett, and they just run that for next year and say that team wins 24 games and gets the 4th pick in the draft. And, hey, you add another 4th star, and you have 70 million cap space next year, or 65 or 60. I know it's not as good as a free agency class next year, but it's not the end of the world if the Knicks don't check out on 2 free agents. But it would definitely hurt them because they did give up Tim Hardaway Jr. and Lee just so they can have money this offseason. But I'm more content, and I really like DSJ a lot. I don't think he's going to be a particularly good defender or shooter, but, I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to be Russell Westbrook as, like, a rebounder or a passer, but if the dude can, honestly, if his peak is 21 points a game, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, that just has value in itself, and I would be okay with that. I mean, I would like for it to be a lot better, but that wouldn't be the end of the world. So I'm not gonna really hit on this shade too much for the Knicks. We gotta wait and see till July and what happens. The Knicks sign free agents. This trade's a huge success. Say in a perfect Knicks world, they get the #1 pick. They sign Kevin Durant. They sign Kyrie Irving. It's a perfect world, but you need a lot to go your way for that to happen. So we're gonna have to. It's kind of a wait and see on the Knicks side of things. Actually, it's a wait and see on both sides of things, honestly. So I'm gonna talk about. So the Knicks, obviously, those were kind of the good things. The downside is you lose an All-Star from last year and possibly one of the most unique players in the NBA. But I'll get to him in a second. So that's the Knicks side of things. The Mavs side of things, you have Kristaps, Porzingis, and Luka Doncic, which is crazy good. Kristaps is 22 or 23, I believe. Luka's, 19, 20. And they're going to be around for a while. At least Luka will, but that's a scary sight. Luka, one of the best passers as a rookie we have seen since possible. Well, I guess Ben Simmons and LeBron, the only 2 that I can really name off the top of my head, could be better than Luka as rookies, and he's a good rebounder, crazy scorer, crazy good shooter, and I mean his defense isn't as bad as I think people thought it was going into the draft. It still needs improvement, but the dude's crazy as a rookie. And obviously you're pairing him with Kristaps Porzingis. The big thing is his injury uncertainty. Is he going to come back to the same player he was 150 games, or no, it would be like almost 125 games ago. He didn't play all 82 this year. I think it was around mid-season last year, so say 40 last year, 82 this year. This dude hasn't played in over 120 games, so there's going to be some uncertainty to see if he comes back to the same Kristaps of old. I think he will, but there's still the uncertainty. Now, they lose 2 first-round picks, so they're in a loaded Western Conference. I don't know, say in 2021, Luka breaks his arm, and he's out 3 months, and it really sets them back at all. They don't make the playoffs. The Knicks just maybe landed a lottery pick in 2021, and that next team could be a playoff team. It could not be, but it's just another asset that the Mavericks do lose, and it's a 2023 first, which is top 10 protected, which definitely gives the Mavs more leeway, but I don't know. We'll see. That's 5 years from now, 4 years from now. There's a lot of time until we find out those picks. Now, they also take on Courtney Lee and Tim Hardaway Jr.'s contracts. Courtney Lee's only 1 more year after this year. I think it's around 12 mil. And Tim Hardaway Jr. is what, 18, 19 mil for 2 more years after this year, because he's probably going to opt into his player option in the 2020 offseason. Now, this kind of limits Dallas to what they're going to do. Now, say they sign Kristaps to the max in this offseason. They give him 30 mil, right? That's 30 mil there. You got 20 mil to about Tim Hardaway Jr. That's 50 mil. You got 25 to Harrison Barnes. That's 75 mil. You got another 12 mil to Lee. That puts you at 87. You really don't have enough money for a max deal. So that limits this offseason pretty much for the Mavericks for a max deal in general. Now, next offseason, Barnes, his contract's up. I think Barnes this offseason has a player option, so he's probably going to opt in, obviously. And next offseason, he'll be a free agent, so will Courtney Lee. So that's like 37 mil off the books. But really, the best unrestricted free agents next year are Anthony Davis, but I'm sure he'll probably be on the team, sign a contract extension by then. It's like Mike Conley, Whiteside, possibly Andre Drummond. It's really not going to be that good of a free agency class. So this kind of sets them back a little bit in free agency. But, hey, they could be big players in 2021 free agency class. I don't know off the top of my head who's going to be there. I think like Oladipo, I don't know. Or Draymond's in 2020 as well. But, say, I don't know, you still have Luka on his rookie deal by 2021, I think. Or he'll be restricted, so you could probably go after a max free agent then. But it's just in the next 2 years, Dallas really isn't going to be signing anybody big unless they do move on from THJ or Lee's contract. So that's kind of like the Knicks and Mavs side of things. Now, I don't really trust. I don't know who to trust. I mean, the Knicks said that Kristaps respectively asked for a trade, and the Knicks moved him. Now, in the Mavericks press conference, Kristaps said it was unexpected. So I don't really get where they're coming from or who's right, who's wrong. I know Kristaps' brother, Giannis or whatever his name is, he's Kristaps' agent. And I don't know. I don't think he's really done the best job. You shouldn't really let your family members decide on what you're doing. It should really be you, your team, your agent. You kind of see like Kawhi's uncle, Anthony Davis' dad, Kristaps' brother, all these guys, like Lonzo's dad. They just get too involved when I think it should be kind of the player's decision and then like their team and agent and stuff like that. Now, say Kristaps doesn't come back and he comes back and his peak seasons, or he's constantly hurt. He gets hurt pretty much every year, and the best he puts up is 16 and 7 a game. I mean, that's still solid numbers, but that really hurts the Mavericks' future if Kristaps doesn't come back. I think he will come back fine. I mean, most players do come back from their injuries particularly well. It's just like, because this is his first big injury. People say he's had an injury-prone history, but he hasn't really missed that much of seasons like this or that many games. This was his first big injury in the ACL tear. So I think he'll come back fine. Obviously, if he tears his ACL again or his MCL or PCL or he breaks his leg or something that happens to his lower body again, then you got to start worrying that this man is he's an injury-prone type player, because he's 7'3". He's pretty skinny. The dude isn't like Dirk, who at least had like weight on him. And Dirk, I think 7'1". Kristaps is 7'3". So I think Kristaps obviously has to put on more weight. He's very skinny for his height, which is scary. I know every time I was a Knicks fan, I would like lose my breath, or my heart would sink if he just got like a contact dunk or a block, and I would just be scared he would fall the same way. Or every time he fell down, I would literally just have a heart attack. But yeah, Dallas doesn't have their first round pick this year either, and because of the stepping rule, they'll have it next year. So honestly, in their best interest, they shouldn't make the playoffs next year. But if they do, say they win the 18th next year, they'll have the 16th pick. They'll have more cap space next offseason, but obviously you have a really good foundation with Kristaps and Luka Doncic for the next, hopefully they think 15 years. We'll see kind of Kristaps' injury and how that keeps up. But yeah, that's kind of the Mavs side. Obviously, good part, you have Kristaps and Luka. Bad side, you lose 2 firsts, you take on 2 bad contracts, and obviously Kristaps is uncertainty. The Knicks good side, you got 7 firsts for the next 5 years, you got 70+ mil in cap. You have 0 bad contracts. Obviously, the bad thing is you just traded away your only all-star in the last 4 years, 3 years, and he was 22 when he made it, or 21, whatever he was, which is pretty big. It's kind of been their best good players since like they acquired Melo. But we'll see. Obviously, the Knicks can turn this around if they sign a Kevin Durant, if they sign a Kawhi Leonard or Kyrie Irving or something like that, which I'm hoping for as a Knicks fan. I still think it's possible. I'm not trying to be delusional and say like we're 100% signing KD and Kyrie. I think there is a chance. Like, I'm not saying there's no chance. I'm not saying there's a guaranteed chance. I think there is a chance out there the Knicks can get either Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant in the offseason. But we're going to have to wait and see until July 1st. A lot can happen. We got what? February, March, April, May, June. We got 5 months till free agency, pretty much. A lot can happen. Obviously, if the Knicks land Zion, maybe it will be more enticing, but we'll see. So yeah, that is pretty much going to wrap up my final thoughts on the Kristaps Porzingis Knicks Mavs trade. I think it's a wait and see thing. I am definitely growing on the trade, especially if Dennis Smith Jr. turns into a pretty nice player, and maybe him and Frank can complement each other. And if the Knicks sign people in the offseason, I would really like this trade. But if DSJ Road isn't turned into much, the Knicks strike out this free agency, then I'll pretty much, and Kristaps comes back fully, I'll hate this trade. So yeah, that is going to be for me. Thank you all for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know in the comments your final thoughts on the Kristaps trade, because I know when the news broke, everyone's like, the Knicks got finessed, Knicks got like trade raped, like they're a poverty franchise. I mean, they still might be a poverty franchise, but now I think more people are kind of realizing, okay, it's kind of like a wait and see type thing. It's not like the Knicks got fully finessed yet. We have to wait and see till July. We have to wait and see till next year when Kristaps comes back. So yeah, let me know your final thoughts about the trade in the comments below. I don't think this is like a type of trade we could give a winner yet. Obviously, an initial winner, a lot of people want to give it to the Mavs, but I think it's definitely a wait and see type win deal. Because initially, like you look on previous trades, the Paul George Oladipo, people thought the Thunder got a steal out of that, but really Sabonis and Oladipo turned into 2 great players, and it was pretty much a good even trade. Or the DeMarcus Cousins Sacramento Kings Pelicans trade, everyone's like, oh my god, the Kings just got nothing for DeMarcus Cousins. They got a first, which they turned into Justin Jackson, a Buddy Hield underwhelming start. Buddy Hield and Pelicans, or DeMarcus Cousins no longer on the Pelicans, and Buddy Hield's turning into a rising star. So it's a wait and see type thing. So that's gonna be for me. Thank you for watching. I love you guys. Hopefully Anthony Davis can trade in the next couple of days, or Conley or Gasol, somebody big. And I'll see you guys next video. Peace.